Global Broadcasting Networks presents Coach Talk Radio. Create the time, money, and lifestyle you want with tips, tricks, and techniques that get you started today from some of the best internet minds in the business. Now here are your hosts, internet brand strategist Sandra Beck.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Sandra Beck, and we have got a great show today. Now we're visiting with Rhys Thomas. He wrote the book, Discover Your Purpose, How to Use the 5 Life Purpose Profiles to Unlock Your Hidden Potential and Live the Life You Love. Now, this is a business book. It's a human nature business book. And, well, I guess it's not a business book. It's a general purpose book. But I really found it applicable to business. As a company owner, I own a technology company. I ran some large companies in my day. If I had had this book, if I was armed with this knowledge, I think I would have made selections of my employees better. I think I would have put them in positions where they can really shine. And I think I could have brought us together as a team. I'm not saying that I didn't do these things well, because I did, but I think I could have really supercharged some of my core company building. And so for those of you listening today, I think it's really important that you get a copy of this book and you read it and you identify the characteristics of your assistant, the characteristics of your sales manager, of your salespeople, and most importantly, your own characteristics, you know, as a leader of your company. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Rhys Thomas and his book, Discover Your Purpose, the 5 Life Purpose Profiles. Rhys, what are these 5 life purpose profiles, and how do they relate to our offices?
Well, the 5 life purpose profiles are people that you see at your office all the time, and some of them are very picky and exacting, and those we call the knowledgeable achievers. They're the ones who are always on top of the schedule. They're great schedulers. They are always on time. They get more done in a day than most people do. I always look at knowledgeable achievers and I think, man, they got so much done in like 3 hours. That usually takes me, because I'm more of the creative person, and so to get the same thing done, I would have had to take 3 breaks and have a snack and have a drink and wander around and do some things and then think about it for a while, and then 5 hours later, 6 hours later, I get maybe what they get done in an hour and a half or 2 hours done. So they're the achiever types, and then there are like myself, the creative types that are a little more sort of out there and thinking and not always being able to pay attention and can't necessarily stay focused all the time, but they come up with great ideas. They come up with new ways of doing things, and then there are the people that are very team, sort of, they're part of the team and they like working as a team, and it's like, let's get together. So you give them a project, and if you give it to them by themselves, they're like, okay, and they do it, and then they bring it back, but they want your approval. It's like, did I do well? Did I do it okay? But they actually thrive when they're in teams, when they're working as a team, when it's like 2 or 3 people maybe working together, 4 or 5 people. They're the one that's always sort of saying, well, all right, I'll do this and I'll help with that, and let me help you with this, and they do that sort of thing. So we've got achievers, we've got these creative people, and then we've got these team players that pull things together. And then we have 2 others that are more sort of the emotional types. They're the ones that work there's the leader who tends to be a little more volatile and inspiring, and they're the ones that jump up on stage and all of a sudden everybody's like motivated to do something, or they come in and they make you feel about an inch tall in about 3 seconds, because there's and you can feel in them that they're in battle with you, and usually they would only go into battle with you when they have the upper hand to begin with, and so you sort of have to play down. So there's these charismatic leaders, but when they're in their core, these are the leaders. They are the ones who get in the lead positions, and they're leaders because they can pull it off. They can make it happen. They can stand up on stage and speak. They can speak to the team and really motivate them to get a job done in a certain period of time. So they're really strong that way. And then there's finally the one that is probably the least in corporate world anyway, the least kind of desired is what we call the emotional intelligence specialists. They're the soft ones. They're the ones that are quiet and sort of sit back and don't like when things get all churned up in the office, but their greatness is when they talk to clients, how they make clients feel they really pay attention to people. They really have this ability to gently talk to people and help them make decisions from a deeper place within them, a deeper need, which is we all have the need to be held and taken care of and loved. And when a business, when you've got people on your staff that make people feel loved, you're going to have a very successful business. So those are the 5 qualities. So you have creative people, you have these feeling people, you have these caretaking or strong, team playing type people, you have these super organized and achieving type of people that do very, very well in any type of structure or time frame or scheduling. And then you have these people that are the leaders that tend to either be the boss or they tend to be the salespeople. Or they tend to be these more charismatic type of people.
So identifying this group, like identifying who's in your group, like I found, just to be real simple, like when I hire support staff that are great team players, it's just wonderful for me because they really care more about me sometimes than I do. I remember some of my assistants that I've had in the past have been so great. They know that I get really bitchy about 4:00 when I don't have my Diet Coke. And, I had one gal who would come in every day and she's like, okay, here's your Diet Coke. She goes, now get back to work. And, it was just something I would never think of. And not that, you want people to serve, but she was really happy to take care of me. And when I read your book and I realized that team players really do get excited about serving, they really do, that's what, lights them up. That's their juice. I didn't feel guilty about it anymore because I really enjoyed it. And I always thanked her and said, oh, this is so great, Amanda, when you do this. I really appreciate it. And I'm truly authentic when I'm saying that. But then at night I'd feel really guilty. But now I realize I don't have to.
Totally, and when you understand the profiles, first of all you'll hire very differently. Great managers and great hiring managers sort of innately know that there's a quality of person. A great manager hires for character and trains for skills. A weak manager or a very a person who's very good at their job hires off the resume, hires for skills, hires for what a person has accomplished, asks them what they can do, what they know, and how they can do it, and then hopes that the person has a personality. Basically, hopefully they have a character. But the truth is that each job has a energetic quality. Each element of a job. So if you have a person who, if you have a job like sales, for instance, and you need a person who has a very strong internal sort of like, I want to win, because your sales people want to win the game, and they use a lot of charm and things like that. And so of course they can do it underhandedly, but generally when they're in their core, they can make sure that everybody that buys something from them is buying it because they really need it, and they know how to remind you, they know how to find that within you what you really need. Whereas and they'll also make you pay the highest price for it because they know that they get paid more if they get the highest price. So if for instance you put a team player in there, or you put the emotional intelligence specialist in there in that same role, they're not going to get to the bottom line. They're not going to get. They're going to just say, well, what can I do for you? How can I help you? What can I? And they're going to be giving to that person what that person needs, but they're not going to be able to sell. They're not going to be able to get the higher price. They're not going to see the advantage to them because they don't really care. It's like, well, I'll take less for this. Yeah, I think we can give you that price. No problem at all. And they'll give away the farm. Whereas the charismatic leader realizes, you know what, this person can afford this, and we need this money for the business to stay afloat and to do that. So knowing what job it is, and so if you have if you need a director and you don't hire a knowledgeable achiever, if you hire a charismatic leader, for instance, for a director position, you're going to have trouble because the director really needs to be a calendar, scheduling, organizational, a knowledgeable person of all of the areas of the business, rather than a person that's going to be, sort of like, let's go this way, let's do this, no, bring it all up, whereas your sort of your founder, CEO type is going to be more the charismatic leader that is going to bring vision, but that CEO needs to make sure they hire the knowledgeable achiever, COO or director that then makes sure that every day there's a schedule for it and everybody knows their schedule and knows how to do it. And a really good knowledgeable achiever, of course, should know the profiles. And then that director knows where people should be. Like you said, you've got this great team player, and team players in customer service, they're not expecting to make a lot of money, and so there's the knowledgeable achiever sees this is what this job pays and costs, and this is what this person expects. This is what they expect in their lives and what they do, and we pay them at the level that they're comfortable and that it works for the business and it's value for the business. But you can get an enormous amount out of one employee at $25,000 and get nothing out of another employee for $25,000 because of their profile difference. Whereas the knowledgeable achiever and the charismatic leader, chances are they're not even going to blink it under $75,000 or $100,000 for a job. But a team player or an emotional intelligence specialist, if they get to connect deeply with people, that job, if that's what you can afford, and that's what the job is a deeper sort of connection job, they'll love that job and they will thrive in that job and be happy with that. So it's a different. They're very different needs, and we talk about needs in relationship, but you also have needs in business, and each of these 5 characters have a very different need in the business, and when you can fulfill that need, they'll be very happy working for you. That also goes
Rhys,
for yourself.
I'm going to need us to take us to commercial break. We're visiting today with Rhys Thomas. The book you're going to want to get is Discover Your Purpose, How to Use the 5 Life Purpose Profiles to Unlock Your Hidden Potential and Live the Life you, were meant to live, or live the life you love?
Both. It's both, but it's you were meant to live.
That you were meant to live. It's a really important book for human resource professionals. It's an important book for sales managers, office managers, anybody who interacts with people. You're really going to find a great value in this book. We're going to talk more with Rhys when we come back after the break.
Is there more living for you to do? Yes. Start living inspired. Be here for Living Inspired with Tricia Goyer, Thursday afternoons at 4, 3 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Tricia will dig deep into topics that matter most to women, inspiring women to make a change in their own lives and to make a difference in the world, and maybe even deep within their own hearts. Tricia is a wife, mom, speaker, family expert, and author of 24 books. For more information on Tricia and Living Inspired, go to her website, TriciaGoyer.com. That's TriciaGoyer.com. Tricia's vision is to be the voice of hope and possibility for women of all ages. Her intention is to serve ordinary women by encouraging extraordinary things with God's help. Tricia expresses real life, real hope for real women. Is there more living for you to do? Yes. Start living inspired. Living Inspired with Tricia Goyer. Thursday afternoons at 4, 3 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Reaching out from the heartland of the United States with quality programming, this is TogiNet Radio.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors, all quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us because we know that quilting changes everything.
Taking care of business every day. Taking care of business every way. Taking care of business.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Sandra Beck and this is Coach Talk Radio, and we are visiting today with Rhys Thomas, and he wrote a book, Discover Your Purpose, about using these 5 life purpose profiles. And what we've done is taken this book and modify it towards the entrepreneur, to the small office, to the mid to large size company owner, sales managers, anybody, human resources that works with people and needs to identify characteristics in them to do their job better, is really going to benefit a lot from this book. Now, Rhys, when I ran a sales team in Beverly Hills, I ran one in real estate in Beverly Hills, and for a major corporation, I made a lot of mistakes in the hiring of my sales staff, and it took me a couple years to get it right. Then I got it right. I figured it out. But I really didn't do a lot of training the staff in what to look for. Now, I would train them into, getting them used to, you got to pre-qualify people. You're not going to take them out to show unless they have the money. You're going to make sure they're ready to purchase, within 60 days. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. But I really didn't train them to see the perfect customer for them. That's a different mindset. And I'd love for you to share some information about that.
Yeah, so that's one of the important elements of this work. Once you figure out who you are, and you really need to know who you are, so you know what business you're in or what position you're in, and does that fulfill you at a deep sort of soul level? And that's really important. This isn't just behavioral stuff like Myers-Briggs or Enneagram or DISC, where you figure out what someone has been doing their whole life and then teach them how to do it a little bit better. Oftentimes, what we've been doing our whole lives, and certainly for me, I tried to be this achiever that then was delivering a message that was this achiever message, and I wasn't an achiever. I was a creative person. And when I delivered a creative message to people that love creative messages, I became incredibly successful. But when I was trying to deliver the wrong message, I was trying to deliver this is the best thing and it's the right way to do it, and nobody, not that nobody listened. I got pretty good at it. I could do it, but it never really worked. It never really inspired. And so learning who you are is the first thing. Then hiring your staff based on these qualities within them, showing them how you hired them, why you hired them for that, and how they all work so well together, and then helping them see sort of what is it that so someone in customer service is going to be really working with people who need help. And so their customers naturally are the ones that need help. And so when you have a customer that needs the most help, you call your customer service person, or you call someone who has this team player quality that can really work with that person who needs a lot of help. If you have a customer who really needs to be taken step by step and talked to in a quiet way and not pushed and all that, you want your softer, more emotional intelligence, the more emotional person to work with that person, and you'll attract that. And so team players attract people who have these needs. So for instance, they're great. If you're doing a massage, or some sort of a business where they're working with groups of people, they're gung ho. They really sort of get everybody going. If you've got sort of a piece of your business where people need to be talked to one-on-one and really work through things, you let your more emotional person deal with that. The knowledgeable achievers will really find that they're working with people on a much higher, broader level. They're going to find that they attract people, and their people that they work best with are the ones who see the bigger picture and want to be shown a step-by-step system to get somewhere, and really like that. And so they're looking for that in that person. And of course, we all want a step-by-step system, but only the knowledgeable achiever can really deliver that in a way for each person that they actually make the fastest. Sort of like they're there for the shortest line between here and there. And whereas the charismatic leader is going to attract people that really need to be inspired, really want to be inspired in their lives, really want to have, feel motivated, and not necessarily motivated. If you go to these business sales seminars and things, you end up buying something and you're like, why the hell did I buy that? What was I doing? It was because the person up on stage was so charismatic. They didn't actually say, they will say, you buy this thing and it doesn't, but they didn't actually explain anything about what it does. They were just saying, if you want to feel like this, if you want to be that, this is how you're going to do it. And then you're like, okay, and you're motivated by them, and so they are people that inspire people to do more, to be more, to grow more. And then of course, creative people are people who will attract to them people that really are looking for a new way to do something, or a spiritual sort of higher purpose, a higher mystical kind of a connection, or someone who is going to be kind of irreverent and say, you know what, everybody's done it that way before. We're going to do it this way. We're going to totally change it up. And what do you think? And let's make up a new way. So they bring this creative force to the world, and that's sort of like their message, and teaching them their message and how they're going to deliver that to people is the next step. After that, which we can do after this, is teaching them to actually read each of their clients and then give them the same thing that you gave each of your employees. So it just goes down the ladder. You pick your staff and your people and feed them what they really need. Well, your staff needs to be able to be trained in the profiles, so they don't feed a charismatic leader who wants inspiration. They don't feed them the sort of like the sort of like, hey, how can I help you? And I want to be your friend and your team player. They don't want that. They want to be inspired. So you learn very quickly that this system works at every level.
Rhys, this is so important. When you create this, how do you? When you put this together, how do you weave yourself into the mix? Like, this is great for all the other elements, but when you're putting yourself in here and figuring out where you fit, how did you do that in your business?
Well, I have, so we're talking about employees. I've got 30 staff that run my school with me, and there are. And in every class, I run 3 years of the class, and in every class there are 2 lead teachers who are either knowledgeable achievers or charismatic leaders, or a combination of both, because they need to be able to take charge and hold a big presence. And they have a staff each room, so there's 2 rooms in each year, so there's 10 staff for each year. And out of these 5 people, I make sure I put in one of each of the profiles. So I've got a leader in there, I've got a knowledgeable achiever, I've got a team player, I've got an emotional intelligence specialist, and I've got a creative idealist in each room, if I can. And sometimes I can't pull it off, but there's always so what happens is that inside every room there is a person on my staff that everyone in the room can relate to. And this is the problem with most hiring managers. They like to hire people like themselves, or it's a business that's a competitive business, so they hire all knowledgeable achievers and charismatic leaders. So that means that when your creative idealists and your emotional intelligence specialists and your team players come in, they can't relate to anybody on your staff. So that's a really important element of what I do. And then what also happens is that I get feedback from each one of those. A situation happens in class, something great or something hard, or somebody really goes through something, or someone really pops or whatever. And then I'll talk to each of the staff, and I'll get a completely different view on what happened based on how they experienced it from their side. So I'm learning more about what's actually happening in my business than I could ever get by my own opinion and my own angle on it. So I hire that type of a staff, and then I hire my support staff are always going to be knowledgeable achievers and team players, and obviously and hopefully a combination of the two. So my graphics people are knowledgeable achiever team players. They care the most about me. They want my business to be the best. They're not just, because there are lots of graphic designers out there that are charismatic leaders because they like to come up with a big idea and show the big thing and do the big thing, but they don't really care about your business. They're not in it for your business. They're in it for making themselves the best graphic designer out there. And I don't want that in my business. I want someone who cares about my business. And so they have to be achievers, and they also have to really care about me and my business. So that, and then I've got my virtual assistants, my virtual helpers are people that have whatever their skills, and they have to be very organized. So they have to have some knowledgeable achiever, or they have to be creative, and they have to be, or it's computer driven. So they have to have creative idealists, but they have to have that team player quality, because I need them to care, like you said, I need them to care more about my business than I do sometimes. And I need them to call me up and say, hey, Rhys, don't forget, you're on with Sandra in a half an hour. It looks like you're still doodling over with this thing. Come on, we gotta fire up here. This is a huge show, and you gotta really, and they will do that for me. So knowing what you need around you allows you to just be you. So that way I'm never in a position where I don't have to be my creative idealist. I can try on all the other hats and do some knowledgeable achieving and things like that, or some team playing. But the truth is that they need me to be who I am, because that's what they sort of signed on for. They want me to be who I am so they can be who they are.
That's so important that we identify some of these things and we figure out where we are in the mix. And, I'm a big proponent of like what it feels like, tastes like, sounds like, and to hear how you structure and how you make the choices. I think some of us do a little bit of this intuitively, as company owners or managers, but to be able to identify it, to be able to quantify it, to go, okay, these are the characteristics I'm looking in this person. It can be overwhelming with the information out there on what makes a good hire. And, when you hire somebody and you train them and you invest in them and you get to like them and they become part of your work family, it's really hard when you switch out people over and over. High turnover rates hurt everybody. They hurt the company. They hurt your bottom line. They hurt your stress level. They hurt your employees. So it's really important we make the best hire we can right off the bat. And I think your book really helps identify those. Now, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about team players and more about a team organization as a whole and what a healthy team looks like.
Welcome to Geraldine Tegelov Live, the show that shares with you the secrets of redefining, reinventing, and rebuilding your life. Having pulled herself from the rubble of financial ruin and having gone on to create a highly successful career, Geraldine has become an expert in the art of transformation. She believes that it doesn't matter where you are right now, how overwhelmed you feel, or how impossible the task of turning your life around may seem. You can do it. Stay tuned as metaphysician, international best-selling author, and intuitive Geraldine Tegelov gives you the inner understanding and the outer practical how-to to create your amazing life. Gain a fresh perspective on how to redefine, reinvent, and rebuild your life. Join Geraldine Tegelov live every Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the TogiNet Radio Network.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Dinner is typically the largest meal of the day, and Harvard Medical School recommends to take that opportunity to make sure you meet your daily quota of 5 servings of fruit and vegetables. Roasting vegetables is not only easy, it's also a delicious way to serve them. You can roast any vegetable from zucchini, peppers, eggplant, mushrooms, onions, to carrots, cauliflower, and broccoli. To roast them, cut the vegetables up and place on a cookie sheet lined with foil. Drizzle a little olive oil over them and sprinkle with pepper. Cook them at 375 degrees for 25 minutes. Savor roasted vegetables as a side dish or toss them in a salad or pasta. When you pile on the produce for dinner, there is less room for unhealthy food. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. Visit our Facebook fan page at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
Taking care of business every day. Taking care of business everywhere.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Sandra Beck and this is Coach Talk Radio, and we are visiting today with Rhys Thomas. He wrote the book Discover Your Purpose, How to Use the 5 Life Purpose Profiles to Unlock Your Hidden Potential and Live the Life You Were Meant to Live. I think this also could be and run the company you want to live, because so many of us are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners, or we run maybe a branch or a division of a larger company or a franchise. And one of the things that's true to this nature is that a lot of times we spend more time with our coworkers and our staff than we do with our own family. So bringing the right members into your team is really, really important from a family standpoint. But just like any other family unit, family health is important. And I'm not really talking so much today about health. Yes, we get the health concerns with, bottom line with health insurance costs. I'm talking about a healthy team, mentally healthy team where teammates are getting what they need from each other. They're getting what they need from you. So it can really work as a living, breathing organism as an organization. And that's really what we want. We all want to come to work every day and enjoy the people we work with. I'm really lucky that I love the people I work with. I would die for the people that work with me. Like they're like family. Like I can't imagine life without them, whether they're working for me or not. I've got Erin who's on a missions trip in Africa, and I talk to her, every couple days on the internet. And when you create your own company, one of the perks is being able to hire people you like. You like to look at them, you like to talk to them, you like to be with them, and you care about them. And it becomes a family. And a healthy family or a healthy company requires some finesse.
Absolutely, and that is I love what you just said. I did not run my business that way when I was in my 20s, and it wasn't until about 3/4 of the way through my 30s that I learned about these profiles and this energy work. And once I learned about the profiles, one of the things that happens with the profiles is that you stop. We change the focus, which is so prevalent, just a sort of unwritten rule that you do business for the money, and every book is written that way. And even though they don't say it, it's like, well, I'm going to do this nice thing for these people so I can make more money, right? And it's all and there's this undercurrent of sort of belief that whatever you do, it better make more money or it's not worth doing, and that sort of devalues people. And it wasn't until I really felt people and enjoyed people and recognized these great qualities within people that I then realized that you don't go to work for the money, you go to work for the people. And if you're not going to work for the people, you're in the wrong business. And I have a friend of mine who owns a condo right next to mine down in Florida on the beach in Naples. And great guy. His name's Torben Rasmussen, and he is from Denmark. And he's won all sorts of prizes for his, and he's run three different large businesses there, all internet businesses. But he has run these companies, started with 27 people up to, and then raised the companies up to 300 people, and his management style is amazing. He never lets anybody do like big board meetings. There's no meeting that can be more than 3 people, and he's the CEO, and he takes a different desk in the building every other week. So he's sitting somewhere else. He doesn't have his own office, and he encourages people to, of course, over in Europe they have more time off, more vacation pay, and all that sort of nice things that they do. But he encourages people not to try to do too much work in a day, so that they don't burn out, and so they enjoy themselves more. And he allows people, once they know their job, he lets them create their own work rather than dictating what they're supposed to do. And so this goes totally against sort of the way American businesses operate. But I find that I do the same thing in my business, and amazingly, so if you put the right person in the right job, and you know the personality and know the character of the person, and you put them in the right job, and you say, here's some training. This is basically what we want to do, but I want you to make this yours. What was happening was he was making these businesses for 300 people, all 300 people, and they all had a stake in the business as well. So we give them a small portion of the business in the way he worked this. Everybody felt like they owned the business. And when everybody in the business feels like they own the business, even if they aren't getting a piece of the business, they're getting paid a salary or whatever it is, but they feel like what they do really is their thing, you will have an incredibly happy and successful staff. The key is you have to know how to put the right people in the right position and then get out of their way and encourage what's best within them. And so that's the first piece of this. I loved that he did that, and he said that he sold many of these businesses, and new sort of more knowledgeable achiever and charismatic leaders came in, and the businesses would lose, would their value and would drop considerably. They would lose money because they didn't have the value of building a team like this, even though he totally set it up for them that way. So does that make sense for you, Sandra, in your business as well? It certainly has worked in my business.
It does. I mean, so much of, I think, as a charismatic leader, and I have a real strong, knowledgeable achiever and a team player, and that team player comes out, every time, somebody in my company has a need. And so I feel like my need to serve and help. But, when we go back to, some of the great business leaders of our day, you think of J.W. Marriott, who talked about, if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers. A manager's job is to take care of, the employees so that they can be happy and successful and serve the customer. And I just think it all goes hand in hand, but it's the how that was so hard for me, because in some personality types, or whatever you call your life purpose profile, like the feelers, I tend to crush the feelers. If you're a feeling employee, I have to really be conscious of it. And your book has helped me become a lot more conscious of my feeling crushing behaviors.
Right. I mean, and think about it. We're a business is just a reflection of what we really need in the world. We need to make sure that somebody's leading, somebody's organizing it, somebody actually cares about the people in the business and the customers, and really takes care of everyone, make sure their needs are being met that way. Someone has to have the heart and the deeper sort of like, we've got to make sure that what we're producing and what we're doing is good for the world, good for the health of everyone. And then we need people that are creative enough to say, you know what, even though we've done it this way for the last 5 years or 10 years, there's a better way to do this. There's a new way. Let's keep ourselves growing and changing.
It is. It's important. It's important. And, the thing is, as we get older in our businesses get more mature, we don't want to work as hard. I mean, really, Rhys, one of the reasons I went into business for myself is A, I wanted to get off the freeway in Los Angeles. B, I wanted to be able to sleep when I'm tired. And C, I wanted to be able to, go to my kids' soccer games or tennis matches, whatever it is. But I don't want to work so hard. And one of the things that your book has done is it has simplified. Now, it's not the answer to everything, but it has really simplified. In my mind, people fall into kind of like one of 5 categories, and then I can recognize them. I can give them what they want. And then more importantly, when I pair up, because in my company, we do a lot of joint efforts, joint ventures, I can start pairing up people better. I won't put a knowledgeable with a creative, you're a knowledgeable with a feeling person, because that's like kind of bad chemistry. It's almost like dating. When you have to pair up people for work projects, knowing what their profile is and how they play well with others is also really helpful.
And also, one of the things that I do, I go into businesses and I will sit with, especially the leaders in the business, the team, whatever it happens to be, 12, 15, people that are like these are the people that are managing 20 and 30 or 40 people below them. Each one of them has this, and they're the ones that really need to. They're the mind of the business. Those are all the synapses of the business. And if they can't connect with each other, that business is not going to succeed. And so I work with these staffs, and the first thing I do is I go in and I don't tell them anything about the profiles. I don't say, hey, you're a charismatic leader, or you're this or that, unless they've read my book already and they want to, and they totally want to, have, and people want to be sort of checked out on what they are. But what I'll do is I'll go around the room and I'll talk to each one about what that person's amazing gift is, and it's not hard to see a person's gift. It's written all over them, and when you understand the profiles, you're able to do that. And after I do that, I go around the room and I ask the team, okay, what was this person's? Let's go back around the room now. We've done all 15 people, and you'd be thinking, nobody's going to remember these things, but amazingly, because that's such a sentient part of the person, you go back around the room and say, what was this person's greatness that I just pulled out? And everyone in the room will know what it is, because they already knew. But they didn't have a language for it. They didn't have a way of being able to acknowledge the greatness in that person. So now that person, let's say they're not having their best day, or they're off their game, or they haven't done something. What happens at that point is that this team doesn't see them for their problems, doesn't see them for their overreaction to something, or their withdrawing from something, or their whatever their profile defense could be, where they're sabotaging themselves. They are able to encourage each other from this perspective that this is your greatness, and that's ultimately why my school, which is a energy school, has been so successful. And we can talk about that after the break.
I think it's really important to talk about these things. I think it's important to have these discussions. We're visiting today with Rhys Thomas, the author of Discover Your Purpose, How to Use the 5 Life Purpose Profiles to Unlock Your Hidden Potential and Live the Life You Are Meant to Live. You can find these on Amazon. You can also find them on lifepurposebook.com. You're going to want to get a copy of this. It's a staple, I think, for any people working with human beings and who want to do a better job and an easier job. More after the break.
Is God in Country, the collision of faith and politics, hosted by nationally known speaker, Reverend Dr. Sean Michael Greener. Not your typical Rev. Dr. Sean is a proud military veteran, former law enforcement officer, and founder of the internationally regarded Executive Protection Team. Dr. Sean holds a bachelor's degree in biblical counseling and master's and doctorate degrees in theology, and is currently pursuing a doctorate in ministry, with a Hebrew worldview focus. Through his counseling, elite life coaching, and national speaking, this ninja pastor tells it like it is. This series is biblically and politically engaged with the pedal to the metal. Join host and author of the acclaimed yet controversial book, Excellence Killed the Church, How Mediocrity is Destroying America, Dr. Sean Michael Greener, every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this radio network. This is the TogiNet Radio Network, broadcasting quality programming to the world.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Girassi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward, with tips, tools, and advice and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Taking care of business every day. Taking care of business every way. Taking care of business. It's all mine. Taking care of...
Hey, guys and dolls, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Rhys Thomas, and we are talking about purpose-centered business. We're talking about his book, Discover Your Purpose, How to Use the 5 Life Purpose Profiles to Unlock Your Hidden Potential and Live the Life You Were Meant to Live. Now, Rhys, this is such a big topic. It affects our families, it affects our homes, it affects... it affects what a healthy team looks like. You had written down at one point, people are both in the right jobs and are encouraged to be resourceful and make mistakes and not be limited and afraid to try something new. Now, that's tough. That's tough for people to feel that in an environment they can make a mistake. Right. And yet the only way to actually change in life and to improve is to make mistakes. If everybody always, I think Wayne Dyer said, if nobody were willing to make mistakes, we'd all just be cooking one large yak over fire, and that would be how we'd eat for the rest of our lives. But we have this, we're willing to try different things. Oh, hey, maybe we could saute that yak foot or something. Maybe we could add a little vegetables with that, and then you try things out. So it's human nature to constantly be trying to do new things. If the management of a business says you can try anything as long as it works, they are handcuffing their staff. And I don't remember. There was a story about one of the CEOs at IBM. I guess he lost them $500 million or something on some silly thing that he did, and he went in and was turning in his resignation, and I can't remember who. I don't know the names, but basically, the CEO said, "I'm not firing you. I just spent $500 million training you," and that's really when an employer realizes that staff have to feel comfortable trying out new things. That's where the real changes, that's where the real life in something is going to be. And so that willingness to feel comfortable enough in your own skin to try new things, what you're trying really are employees. If you're running a business and realize that you can't run every piece of the business, and that there are people that are much better at the things that you don't want to do or can't do than you are, you're going to have to not only hire them and give them whatever training you're capable of giving them, but then trusting that what they choose to do with that
is going to be for the betterment of the company. If it turns out not to be, you've learned something, and they certainly have learned something too. And then you can decide: did I put the wrong person in the wrong job, or is this job just an impossible position that nobody can, that there's no easy way to make this work. So yeah, I totally believe in that, and a healthy business is one where you don't crucify someone for a mistake. What you say is, okay, what do we learn from this? And then what you're really doing is you're really dealing with life. That's the way life is. We are constantly making mistakes in our lives and adjusting, and that's really life is. Paulo Coelho said that. When you really understand life, when you're really a master, you realize that every moment in your life is the dark night of your soul, because you have no idea what you're really doing, and you're just trying things out. You're going to just try this and you try that, and after a while you get used to what you really enjoy doing and what you're really good at, and that's what the profiles are about. You want to discover this quality within you that can make tough decisions, because you know deep inside that it fulfills this deeper element within you, and when you hire people that are able to make decisions from that deeper place of, this is what I hire you for. I hire you to be you, and to hold to this great quality within you. And when you encourage that in people, they're going to make choices that you wouldn't have made, but they will be very good for the business, because that person will excel at what, if you've hired them correctly, they will bring newness and transformation to the business that you couldn't have done.
Well, and I just want to say something about mistakes, because I'm a big mistake maker. And, when I was first in business, I would try all these things. I called it creativity. My bosses tend to call it mistakes, and you're not following directions, and you're not doing this, and you're not doing that. And what I grew into was that this mistake making, became signatures of my success. And when I teach my kids and I teach my employees that, a mistake isn't a mistake most of the time. It's just another way of doing something. When you think about making a chocolate chip cookie, you can shave the chocolate, you can chunk the chocolate, you can break the chocolate with your fingers. Yes, some are more effective than others in making a chocolate chip cookie, but the outcomes are different for sure. But some of them have different values for different applications. And for somebody like me who's in technology, Rhys, one of the hardest things for me is there is no blueprint for what I'm doing. There's just an outcome. People want something to do this. They want the technology to do that. Well, that hasn't been done before. A lot of the work that I do has never existed before I did it or my company created it. So there's some freedom in that. And going,
I'm with you,
where's
sister.
The mistake? Where's the mistake?
Right.
And some of our mistakes have been our top selling technology products, just by the sheer fact of doing it. So when we use the word mistake, I try not to use that word in my business, because it really hurts people's feelings. It's got a very heavy emotional toll to it. You feel like a failure. A way of handling it with your staff or with your children or with, people you actually care about is to say, okay, that's good, but here's a better way to do it, or here's a different way, or we're trying to get this outcome, or we're trying to get this to happen. So where can we change this to make that happen? That's a lot different than you screwed up, you made a mistake, or you did it wrong, like the big red pen, from grade school.
Right. And so when we're talking about the profiles here, and this is an essential element of the profiles, when you look at what somebody did, the only time they ever did anything wrong is when they're trying to be somebody that they aren't.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, so you have a staff member who's a charismatic leader, and you put them in a position, and they're going to go for the gusto, and they may shoot big, and they may lose big. But you that's exactly what that person's job is in life. That's what they're supposed to do. And if you hired a knowledgeable achiever and put them in the same position, they were too conservative, and you're like, oh man, we should have gone for more on that. They didn't make a mistake and be too conservative. That's who they are. That's what you hired fired them for. They didn't make a mistake. You didn't see that you wanted more of a aggressive thing that knowledgeable achiever can't do. And so it's really important for us to understand that understanding that there are no mistakes. There's just people trying to be the wrong person. If you put the person in the wrong job and ask them to do something that's out of their character, they will not be able to do it. I mean, in the energy world, we call that not having a chakra for that. If you don't have the energy for that, if you don't have the quality, the knowledgeable achiever can't shoot from the hip. It's just not what they're born to do. But the charismatic leader can't not shoot from the hip. And so if you have those two people, sort of in your staff, you've got to really know which one of those is there, and then encourage them and recognize that they're going to do those things, and it's your job to know what is actually their potential and what isn't. And when you realize that in them, you realize that in your family, in your children, in everyone, you're learning how to actually build a healthy community where people don't feel bad about being who they are. They realize, hey, that's just who I am. That's how I operate. And I need to find jobs, positions, places where I can express that great quality within me. And if you're running a great business, and that's what I was saying. I was saying before that my business is incredibly successful because students don't get to come in and be wrong. And it's not like they come in and they get to run the school. We have a very strict, sort of structure around how we train people to come into this type of energy and this power and become a healer and become a transformative element in the world and run their businesses differently. It's very structured, but we make sure that they're very clear on the fact that the way they're going to do it is different than any other student has ever done it in the school. And whatever they do, amazingly, is either teaching them what they have a chakra for, what they have the energy for, and what they're capable of, or what they don't. And one of the problems is that most of us spend an enormous amount of time telling people they ought to be able to do things that they're never going to be able to do. And then people feel guilty about it and shamed about it and really do a crappy job because they keep trying to do something that they aren't capable of doing. When we work with people and when you work with a profile system, you become incredibly clear on what this person is going to be able to do and recognize that the only mistakes they make is when they try to be something that they aren't.
Well, and we've all done that. We've all tried to live up to our own expectations, the expectations of others. We've all tried to fit into a box or a mold at some point into our life. I'm sure you have too, Rhys.
Absolutely. And that's actually why I'm doing this work, because I spent about 35 years of my life trying to be somebody, trying to do something with my energy that I am not capable of. And now I thrive in what I'm doing and just love my life, because I get to live all of my life in my core quality and inspire people from that place.
And it's easy. When you get to yourself, when you get into your, as you put it, your core qualities, life becomes a lot more easy or easier. It becomes a lot more friendlier. It's a lot more fun. You get up every morning energized. I can tell you, Rhys, you are a high energy person. You're so much fun to talk to. I've really enjoyed our series on Motherhood Talk Radio. For those of you that want to listen to shows like this, go to iTunes under Motherhood Talk Radio. You can get them there for free. You can also go to TogiNet, or you can go to Motherhood Talk Radio. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong show. I'm on Coach. I did it again. I knew it. This is what happens when I do back-to-back shows. So scratch that, rewind. We're going to go to Coach Talk Radio. Coach Talk Radio show is where you can find the shows. You can go to TogiNet, TogiNet.com for Coach Talk Radio. But if you're interested in relationships, go and head over to the Motherhood Show, because Rhys has been on that a couple times, and they're great shows, whether for relationships, family, your company. We'll catch you guys back again next week.
Sandra Beck and Scott Frazier, we want you to get out there today to make more money with less time and effort so you can live the life you want. Tune in next week for more tips, tricks, and techniques from Coach Talk Radio.